Seems like we're live. Okay, welcome everyone to the Octant community meeting. Today is August 18th, and well, we're glad to see you here. Remember again that if you are not able to join the live meeting, like I had some users reaching in the past saying, "Hey, I cannot join." Remember that you can watch the recording on the YouTube channel, and we try to keep the agenda also up to date with the notes from each meeting, so you can catch up. Feel free to add your name to the attendee list. And without anything else, let me share my screen here. There you go. Okay. So first status update has to do with the plugin experience survey. Last week, we published a survey that we tried to keep it short so we can have feedback from all users in the community that in the past have created plugins for Octant or are interested in the plugin authoring experience, which is one of the key assets, the key features of Octant, the ability to extend its use cases or its base features to cover some other kind of environment. So the theme for this sprint and something we plan to keep improving in the future is how to make the whole plugin authoring experience even better. So your feedback is really appreciated. We released the survey last week. We have had some responses so far. From all the options in the survey, which is basically one questions and four options. That's it. So what is the most important for users so far? So well, the common place between the two responses so far has been additional sample plugin language support. I mean, we have a collection of sample plugins in Golang, TypeScript, and I believe there's one in Python. But the users so far have said that they will really value having additional samples in some other languages. And a more intuitive plugin API, which I think it's a broader ask. It can mean a lot of things. It can mean even documentation itself can lead to a more intuitive plugin API. I'm not sure, but we're still collecting your feedback, so feel free to add also your comments there if you have additional requests for the plugin experience in Octant. Right? Okay. So next item, that 24 issues. Remember again that the sprint theme is improving the overall plugin experience. And so far we have several issues in progress and some others in the review phase. So I saw, for example, the image manifest one that was a great team effort. So I don't know if someone from the team would like to share something regarding that one or some other issue.
Yeah, I can say a few words about that. Yeah, that was a long one. It took us a while to get that one through all the checks and everything. It's still in a review, but I think it's gonna get merged quickly. We had a lot of issues because there's a lot of incompatibilities and different operating systems and things like that. But it should be a really interesting one, and I'm excited that that's going to be in 0.24. I think I demoed early version of that a couple of weeks ago, so we'll probably show it again when we do the release. Really interesting new feature that's gonna give us the ability to do totally different kind of troubleshooting at the backend.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's again really helpful in troubleshooting scenarios, among others. So great work there. Yeah, well, yeah, so far good progress on the .24 release. So that's good news. Okay, if there's no additional comment there, we can move to the next item. Is one that's really interesting. I think it was Sam who had this item, the an updated kind plugin. This one's interesting because kind it's a really straightforward tool to have at least local Kubernetes environment. So I don't know if you want to add there, Sam.
Yeah, do you mind if I share screen for a
Oh,
few
yeah,
moments?
yeah, for sure.
All right. Okay, so kind plugin, this is fairly straightforward. I haven't updated this since like 0.19, and so this, you can see the version bump now goes from 0.19 to 0.23 because it's breaking, and kind is somewhat inconsequential, but it just keeps the client Go dependency synced. So we're just working off of the same cluster object deprecations and a similar lifecycle. I think as discussed in previous meetings, 0.22 is going to be the big one. So I'm kind of interested in seeing how other tools in the ecosystem adopts this, because that means a lot of the older object versions won't be registered on the server anymore. So I'm interested in seeing how that looks overall, and that'll affect how Octant gets bumped and how other tooling gets bumped and cascading a bunch of things. But anyway, the more interesting thing here is that I'm going to start creating a bunch of issues for a lot of the features that are in kind, which a lot of people may or may not be using, but they fulfill a very specific use case. Like, for example, you could actually run kind in an air-gapped environment. You can load node images as tarballs, and you can pretty much use pre-built node images to do so. And so a fun idea here would just be maybe if you worked at a bank or something, and or maybe as a government contractor, and you need you don't have access to the internet. You have to have some artifacts approved and saved on a drive somewhere, but and then you kind of just move it in somewhere offline. It could your work, and you want kind to be working because you might not be able to Google this stuff or be able to pull down new images in real time. A good way to do it is to actually just have these tarballs and have Octant have the plugin, have them all in the same environment, and you don't even have to remember these docs. You can just kind of have a UI to build your own node if you need it, and so that'll allow users to play with different Kubernetes versions. So that's it. There's also an interesting piece here, which is for upstream Kubernetes development itself. You can actually use the Kubernetes source code to build as well. Although I think aside from people who are working on upstream, I see very few people trying to do this. So anyway, that's where this is headed so far. Yeah, so that's it. And then recap the breaking changes. So the PR, we had some breaking changes since 0.19. Probably should figure out some way to cross-reference every time we break, or like say some kind of plugin compatibility thing, like, oh, if you're not working, if you're using Octant 0.19 and if your plugin was built for 0.23, you're just going to see an error component, but maybe it shouldn't run at all. I don't know.
Yeah,
Cool.
it reflects, and thank you so much, Sam. Yeah, it reflects some of an idea that we were kind of discussing with Kara. I think it was yesterday. How to create a mechanism to verify plugins, like a Octant verified batch or plugin that says, "Hey, this is a plugin that's known to work in the latest, I don't know, Octant version, or if there is some compatibility issues to be able to automate that validation or verification. So yeah, that will be really interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, in some ways, like by definition, right? That's what semantic versioning is for. That said, we are a little bit more aggressive in our breakages, simply because we're not 1.0, and I guess in some ways that's why we're not 1.0ing, because we're still breaking the stuff. So who knows? All right, cool. I'll move along here. The next one is protobuf deprecation. This one's kind of interesting. It's not so much an Octant thing as it is so much a for anyone who's watching and using protobufs. This is kind of useful to know. So if you've seen how, if you've used this repo before for installing like the, I guess the protobuf compiler, it used to be able to compile using the Go plugin. So in other words, the runtime and the compiler were the same thing, but the folks at Google realized that now, because it's in the same binary, they have to update the compiler and the language runtime at the same time. And because protobuf compilers, they don't necessarily they're language agnostic. So they were having trouble with this because they support a bunch of languages like I don't even know where this is, developer guide protocol. Maybe it's this one. There's like a whole list. It's like, yeah, C++, C#, Dart, blah, blah, blah. So they broke it out. So now you have the protobuf compiler and the runtime that's separated. And so essentially I have a PR up, which is currently building. I think it's built. Yeah, I'm still checking. Looks good. Which essentially captures this work. I've tried scouring GitHub. I think like there are only a few people who are doing this right now, but essentially you can see here that we've now deprecated this protobuf 1.52 because it's no longer supported. It's in code freeze. And now we are using Protoc Gen Go gRPC, which is the language runtime for Go. And now we just have a hard system dependency on the protobuf compiler, which won't matter anymore. We're just interested in this. So at the end of the day, it just simplifies the pipeline and our Go and mod a little bit. But this is useful to know. So if you're using protobufs and you're still on the old compiler, you should probably move to V2 because they have frozen the code, I believe. Maybe they haven't. I think I saw a commit here. Yeah, like most of the stuff 6 months ago, deprecate the module. Yeah, so they're not going to work on this anymore. So that's just for anyone who's watching, just pay attention to this. And the migration is not, it's pretty, I would say it's non-trivial, but it's not awful. Cool, that's it for me.
Okay, interesting. Thank you, Sam. Any comments on this?
Yeah, that's pretty
Oh,
cool. Thanks for doing that, Sam. That's pretty cool. I think it's good to. I think it's a good change just to simplify the workflow. Yeah.
Yeah, one could argue, and this is also maybe a philosophical discussion, but it's more of like, I think we spend a lot of time bumping stuff on GitHub Actions on things that may or may not necessarily matter, right? Like one could also argue that like our schema is never going to change for protobus. Like the fact that we're using a frozen item doesn't actually matter because in some ways, like we don't care anymore, but that's, you know, that's a bigger discussion for how software development is done at large.
No, I'm a big proponent of being on the latest of everything for many reasons. Just to avoid bugs and security issues and things like that. So I think we need to do that, and eventually we need to upgrade. And I've been on a project that was a little behind and always paid for that in some way or another. So if we can maintain, I know it takes a lot of effort, but if we can maintain and stay on the, that edge, I think it's going to be really important for us.
Okay, thanks so much. It was great to learn that. Okay, next, well, I don't know if we already had discussion points and we simply call them status update, but now we go to open Q&A from me. Uh, I was going through the example plugins that we have in the repo, which is I think it's a great starting point for potential plugin authors out there, especially checking which languages we already have there, Golang, TypeScript, and some content in Python. I had, success mainly with the TypeScript sample plugins, which uses both of these, tools, let's say, a plugin library and the Yeoman generator. It was great, really easy to get started. I think it's here. I created a plugin with the Yeoman generator, just following the steps there. And I was able to call it bug catcher. And the description says, everything. Sample plugin maintained by me to do actually nothing, right? It doesn't do anything, but it was just, if I can build a plugin up to this point, I mean, everyone can do it. But my main question was, okay, if I have this sample running, what will be the next step, right? Probably going to the components and see what I need to add to my specific plugin and add that code to the source folder, because I see that the human generator creates a specific file and folder structure. And for example, it generates a src folder with all the content or the code. But in general, what will be a good next step in order to build a functional plugin? I don't know if
Well,
it's specific for TypeScript or not, but
that kind of depends what you want to achieve. I see you said in your description that your plugin is doing actually nothing. So I think you're already done.
yeah.
No, but the next steps would be just, to build the logic, to build the logic you need in your plugin. So build the screens by using components. For example, you currently have one page, so you can add more things and then build your plugin logic, populate it with data and do stuff like that.
Okay.
And then there's the whole other thing. Once you're done, how to make that visible. And we do have a tag, a GitHub tag that you can add to your project, so it's going to be discoverable as Octant plugin.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Yeah, because after that, I run some other examples there. Yeah, the alert sample again, TypeScript. Let me see here. This one is really interesting because it takes data that is here in the reference over here. For example, the deployment data is the same one. It's a deployment called echo1, and well, it's here. Because if I'm I don't know, if I want to create a plugin in order to provide, introspection, dashboard, user interface to my tool, the resource viewer is a really great addition. I mean, this is really useful for everyone out there who wants to build plugins. That that it's not that complicated. It's there, the yeah, the capability to add a visual representation and relationship between objects to your specific plugin. So this one for me, it was really interesting. Okay, and yeah, I tried to use the action Golang action sample, action plugin sample, but no success so far with the Golang sample. So I'll still need to check if I'm missing something. But yeah, uh, take into account the feedback so far in the survey that most users want to see more examples here. Now I can understand why. It's a really great starting point to create new plugins. So that's great. So I don't know if there's any comment regarding this. That was basically my main question. No. Okay. Okay, well, I think that's it for today. We had a short agenda. If someone wants to add something, comment something, that's great. If that's not the case,
I actually have a question. It's about my user story. I would like to know if somebody has an opinion about this. Can I share screen, please?
yeah, for sure.
Let me see if I can do this. Oh, great. I don't have permissions to do it. I will have to. I'm gonna have to post this. It's because I didn't have the permissions to stream. No, I will have to. I will post this on the.
If you put the link in the chat, probably I can share it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
you need to add permissions to the document also.
Well, oh yeah, I can probably show you this. I mean, it will do. It will do. Let me. Okay, so my question is basically, Liam have some problems with how we log information on plugins. He told me it was kind of complicated to do it if you are using Go. And basically, I realized that the main issue is that if we go to Go plugin client.go, basically, if you don't send a JSON from the plugins to, I mean, the plugins can send logs directly to the master, but directly to Octant. But if you don't send this as a JSON, they will send this log as a debug. So yes, if you click in the one that says, it turns out that yeah, if you click in that one right there, this is on the latest version. So if you see the comment, it says if the output is not a JSON format, it will print directly to debug. This is actually not true in this case, but in the version that we have of client.go, it does. So you actually just go and do l.debug and print the line. So my question is, if you go back to the, thank you. I have this solution. Basically, what I create is a logger using hclog. And yeah, with this, you can basically use what we are used to, just use logger.info, and it will show the logger information in the console and any other place. But we are using an old version of this library. I don't know if I should update and create some kind of interface, or if this solution is kind of right. What I'm asking, like, I have the information there and it's on the main plugin, but I don't know what is the more clear way, and if somebody has an opinion. Does this make any sense? it's kind of clear. Maybe it's not. Doesn't.
Comment on this idea?
Yes, so I guess I'm still having trouble understanding what is the problem you're trying to solve here.
The basic problem is that if you try to print anything using log.printf, it won't print unless you have a debug. You have minus. You are running Octant in a verbose mode. Does that make any sense? Yeah.
Yep, and that sounds right.
Yeah,
that would be expected.
But some Liam and other developer was asking if we can allow the user to print using info, so they can see their logs. Yeah.
Now, if they can print, does that necessarily make it easier, right? Like, we want to think about, like, as a plugin author, you're trying to print something, and let's say you print something and it pops up in an event loop. Are you just trying to grep it out of the output of the logs? Or are you just interested in being able to pipe that specific section of the logs to somewhere that you want? In other words, like, I'm not convinced right away that enabling print actually solves the problem that they're having.
Okay.
Or maybe it does. Maybe it does. I'd have to think about it. I don't know. Ignore me. I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. My question there was pretty much to see if this solution was okay, or maybe another solution was actually better, like dating client.go and Go plugin, and just to make sure and create some kind of interface to hide the logic about from this. But yeah, the main complaint is that the users want to be able to log information without verbose mode, because just kind of it was really hard to find information with using verbose mode. Okay, so yeah, I can continue this on the channel on the Slack. Because
Thank you, Luis and Sam. Great. Okay. Anyone else? Any question, comment, idea? No? Okay. Well, have a nice day. Thank you so much.